we are not talking about theory today. It is one of the most practical tools that we can use as leaders, what we are exploring today. When we understand our perspective, our work becomes sharper, more credible, and more effective. Before we dive into strategic planning, before we start budgeting, we need to have a clear idea about which perspectives are shaping our thinking. They influence the questions we ask, the data we choose, and the conclusions we draw. Join me as we explore today the 5 essential approaches every manager should know.
Welcome to Advanced Quality Programs with Juan Navarro. In this podcast, we're going to dive deep into the world of quality and leadership philosophies that drive successful businesses and great leaders to actually apply them to your everyday life. So if you're ready to improve your life, one quality principle at a time, let's get started.
As a manager, the quality of our decisions shapes how effective we are. But it's really important to realize that our choices are influenced by assumptions we may not even notice. Every strategy we design, every report we write, every analysis we perform is guided by our personal worldview, even if we never named it. And in that sense, there are 5 major perspectives that every manager should understand: positivism, social constructionism, critical theory, pragmatism, and critical realism. Let's explore them. Perspective 1, the positivist perspective. Many managers take on this way of thinking without realizing it. It's summed up in the saying, if you can't measure it, you cannot manage it. And many of us have this perspective. Positivism is the belief that there is one objective reality, and that careful measurements can reveal the truth. It treats management a bit like physics. There are a fixed rule, or there are some sort of fixed rules out there, and the manager's job is discover them. Once they know these rules, managers who think this way rely heavily on hard data, reports, experiments, and statistics. For example, if they want to increase online sales, they might run an A/B test on the buy now button and then let the numbers decide what to do next. This approach works very well for understanding what happened, but it often struggles to explain why something happened, especially when people, emotions, or culture play a major role. That brings perspective 2, the social constructionist perspective. While positivism treats reality as something solid and measurable, social constructionism sees reality as something that we create together through conversation or language. And in this view, what we consider real comes from shared language, routines, cultural norms, and you can think about ideas like company culture, professionalism, a good leadership, quality management. These are real concepts, but you can't measure them without or with one scale or with a ruler. And their meaning changes depending on the situation. Managers who use constructionism try to understand how people make sense of their workplace. They rely on interviews, focus groups, and observation. They recognize that their own perspective influences what they are noticing. And this way of thinking is especially useful for understanding morale, motivation, organizational changes. All these are areas where numbers alone don't tell the full story. Which brings perspective 3, the critical theory perspective. The critical theory builds on social constructionism by asking a deeper question, which is who benefits from the way things are set up. Instead of just trying to understand the world, it aims to challenge unfair systems. This perspective includes ideas from feminism or feminist theory, queer theory, or critical race theory, all of which look at how power is working, or how power works, and how certain groups end up at a disadvantage. For example, critical race theory argues that racism isn't only about personal beliefs or attitudes. It also shows up in systems, policies, or everyday routines. Managers who use critical theory take a close look at fairness, especially inside their organizations. They examine hiring, promotions, and workplace culture to uncover the hidden biases. The goal isn't to blame individuals, it is to fix the system that keeps the inequality in place. And then we have the perspective 4, the pragmatist perspective. Managers who focus on practical solutions often take a pragmatist approach. My favorite one. They care most about what actually is working, not about which theory comes from or, or how things were done. For pragmatists, something is true if it produces good results. They use whatever tool helps them to solve the problem. Surveys, interviews, experiments, observation, statistic, mixing all methods together as they need. For example, if they want to evaluate wellness programs, they might use language or large surveys to gather numerical data, and then conduct interviews to understand the people experience more deeply, and then interpret all together as they go. The goal is to gain useful insights and not to stick to one specific research method or one management method. Finally, we have perspective 5, the critical realist perspective. The critical realism tries to connect two ideas that, one, there's a real world out there with structures we can't always see, and that our understanding of it is shaped by our own perspective or by our own experience. It says that things like economic systems, organizational hierarchies exist, but only by understanding them through our limited human viewpoint, we can shape them. It is a little bit tricky because critical realism breaks reality into 3 parts. The real, these forces or structures we can directly observe like systematic bias, gravity. Yeah. But then the actual, the events that these hidden structures create. And then the empirical, what we can actually see, experiment, and measure. For example, you can't literally see what they call the glass ceiling on an organizational culture, but you can see the effects in a promotion, in the data of the people in management. Critical realism helps the manager to talk about those problems, even when those problems aren't immediately visible or palpable. So we need to bring all these perspectives together to become a better manager. First, positivist approach, look for measurable facts. Social constructionist approach examines how people create the meaning together. The critical theory focuses on power, fairness, and inequality. Pragmatism cares about what is working in practice. And critical realism links real structures to how we experience them. If we are understanding these perspectives, this will help us to make better decisions. Before starting every new project, before getting too involved in what we are doing, we must say, stop. We just need to take a moment to reflect. What assumptions are we making about how the world works? What do we consider a good evidence? And why are we choosing this approach, these methods, instead of others? By recognizing these perspectives, the perspectives that we are using, our work becomes clearer, more intentional, and more trustworthy. And that's it for this week. If you learned anything about your own perspective and how you make decisions, please share that in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like and share this information, the podcast, with friends, family, and even people you are not too fond of. Thanks for supporting my books, Life Quality Projects, The Principles of Quality, The Quality Mindset. Stay excellent, keep improving, and always remember to check your own perspective.
one small change triggers everything. Watch how agile thinking works. Inspect, adapt, repeat. Each step builds the next, creating confident, unstoppable momentum. This is the Quality Mindset by Juan Navarro. Get your copy now.